and welcome to the second part of our fantasy special here at Critical Twits. Last time you left us as we were venturing forth to fight a mighty and epic tavern brawl. We have defeated the pixies, vanquished the nixies, and punched a centaur in the eye. Which also meant that we've got enough XP to level up. Colin, how did you choose to level up?
How did I choose to level up? Well, I decided that I no longer wanted to be Colin the Meek and the village peasant.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Helpful in that effect, I did steal all of the equipment from the corpses. Unfortunately, some of it is for a centaur. But that's fine, because in any fantasy game series, I can instantly put it on and it will suit me perfectly. So I'm thinking I'm going to level up some charisma.
Excellent.
And in order to... Because I am still a peasant, but now I don't look like a peasant.
You're a sexy peasant.
Yes, so I will spend my points in charisma and speechcraft in order to convince people that I am not a peasant. And that I am a noble warrior, and that people will throw money at my feet to clear up quests, and I'm just going to take their money and leave.
Excellent. Aaron?
Well, as I basically had to just sit here and fend them off while trying to edit this podcast, I think I'm going to have to have levelled up my endurance, just so I could take the beatings and the noises that are interrupting me trying to listen to this again.
Excellent. And I spent all my points in beardcraft. As up until recently, my beards were slapdash, but now I expect to find myself perfectly groomed and oiled and ready for all occasions, be they casual beard occasions or formal beard occasions. I now have the feats and skill points to equip myself honourably in the realms of beard.
Well, if it's anything like any other fantasy game, you could go to a barber and have any style of beard you like for the cheaply priced.
Are you saying I just wasted an entire level's worth of XP on something I could have got someone else to do for me?
I'm afraid so.
I hate crafting systems in games. On with the show.
Fantasy, it's drawn on mostly medieval Europe's history and tends to be the basis of the background, but it's very romanticised. It's the bits of the medieval bit of the medieval world we like. It's the knights and the castles and the 100-Year War and kings and queens. It's not
diptheria and a lack of toilet roll.
Yeah, there's not everyone being dead by age 40 because you've caught bubonic plague and it's wiped out a third of the population. It's not your kids have starved to death because your crop failed because of a bad winter. It's very few we don't touch upon that because, well, like all history, we romanticise it.
So there is, I mean, in The Witcher, it feels very much that it's got that grittiness.
Yes.
There's people, I think it's one of the people you come across in the early quests, basically someone who's dying of something horrible and medieval.
Yes.
That these days we could fix, and his solution is, well, I could give her one of my healing potions.
It might kill her.
But it might kill her, and actually that magic, it's magic, it's healing potion, it's kind of convenient, suddenly actually has something interesting to it. It has a twist. I really like that. Again, that was something else I quite
It's also
enjoyed.
nice to see that she's dying of something. There might possibly be a cure, but she can't afford it.
Yes.
Healing potions aren't something you can just walk to a shop and trade in a sword that you found in a cave and buy a load. They're really bloody expensive. And poor people can't afford them, and so they keep dying of diseases and injuries because it's something for the rich.
Yeah, and I think this is where... See, I don't like fantasy as a whole. Discworld I really like.
Like Discworld? Well, Discworld's kind of a satire of fantasy.
Yes,
so if you
yes.
find fantasy a bit silly, it kind of pops that bubble.
Yeah.
Do you like Game of Thrones?
Yes, I do like that.
Again, it's gritty, isn't it?
Yeah, because
it draws upon more of the realism of the Middle Ages, the brutality, the fact that a war happens and 90% of the surviving population gets raped.
Yeah,
it's
disgusting and horrible.
But it's the part of war that the medieval wars that we know happened.
Yeah,
but we don't talk about that.
No,
so
we follow.
We do. Yeah, we do.
You can follow the Fellowship going on their epic quests and stuff. and ignore all that stuff happening in the background. But in my head, that's always playing on me. I always know, well, that stuff's there. There's horrible, horrible things happening in the background, and you're just ignoring it because these people are amazing and heroic. No, it's not real.
Yeah. The village that the Urukai burnt down, yes, you see the village burnt down and see the survivors run away. You don't see what happens to the people that don't get away in time, and I'm sure it's absolutely horrendous, and you could probably do an entire film based on that and turn it into an 18 immediately.
They just lie down and go to sleep, it's fine.
Of course they do.
But, I mean, I think this is where, tabletop RPGs, however...
yes.
I don't mind a fantasy setting for it.
No.
That was a brilliant sieg.
Yeah, I know.
Well
Just take a moment to admire that.
Well done.
So you don't mind...
No, I expected not to, because I'd read the Dungeons and Dragons manuals years ago and things like that.
Were you expecting Aragorn and his merry band of fellowship people to go off and save the world from evil?
Hark, my elven friend, what yonder stands upon that forest shore?
Oh, I'm a dwarf. I better make up poetry. That's what they do in the Hobbit. It's just all they're always singing songs and crafting poetry.
Oh yeah, they sing mining songs and love songs to gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking elves are more poetic.
Yeah, but because it's being crafted by us,
Who are, let's face it, we're a grim lot.
yeah, we can make the world more interesting. We can touch on those bits that kill me, or we can go, right, I'm a dwarf, well, I don't fucking like gold, so I'm not a miner. And, you can do a bit more interesting things with it.
You can play around with it. You can mix things up and explore. Maybe take the mick out or enjoy messing around with those tropes.
I tend to find and this is not attacking the pre-generated campaigns for various systems. For example, Pathfinder. Some of their pre-generated campaigns are very good. We have played one. It was thoroughly enjoyable, but not as gritty as we would have made it if it had been our own group. It was very much, we are the heroes.
We were the heroes of Sandpoint.
We were. The Rise of the Ruin Lords. Rune Lords. I always say Ruin Lords, I don't know why. But that was very much, you are the heroes, this is the villain. And it's very much a pantomime villain. There is no...
Yeah.
Well, he might not be a villain. He has reasons for it.
He wants to murder everyone because he's bad. Get him.
Yes.
Get him, lads. Get him.
I find with some of the pre-generated campaigns tend to be that level of fantasy.
I really enjoyed Rise of the Rune Lords, but I think part of that came to playing the same character for 17 levels over the course of about 2.5 years.
There is that, yes. There is the immersion into the world and your character that allows you to ignore.
Now, Aaron's pulling a funny face.
Yeah,
because Aaron joined us very, very late in the campaign. The campaign's made up of 6 collected books that they released as a special edition, which is the version we played through. And our friend was the DM, so I got to be a player for a change, which was nice. Yeah. You joined us at the start of the 6th book. Yes. How did you find that? Because we'd been playing for 2.5 years at that point.
Yes. Well, the world was very easy to get my head round, which is always something I'm worried about with pre-established RPGs.
Yeah.
Is, I have to roleplay somebody who knows the world. I had to take over one of Brian's characters.
I had 2 characters because one of my characters didn't talk, and then you got to take him over.
Yes, and then we kind of wrangled in some stuff so I could talk.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it that much. I liked it because I like role playing with you guys and it was fun.
Yeah.
But as a campaign, it didn't enthrall me as much as the ones you guys have crafted in previous times.
I mean, that might have been because, again, you came in kind of at the end game.
Yes.
You hadn't had the build-up of what's going on here, what's actually happening, why do we keep getting attacked, who's behind all this.
We could talk a little bit about Pathfinder itself.
Yes, yeah, I think we should.
And I would preface this with the sort of the caveat that we played a campaign of this game for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
We don't dislike the game.
No.
There are things that are tricky about it, but it was good enough to hold our attention for that amount of time and interesting enough to play for that amount of time. For those who aren't aware, the big fantasy role-playing game was Dungeons and Dragons. D&D, as we'll probably refer to it for now on, just to save 5 minutes on the podcast. And that went through various editions and AD&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, all the way up to D&D 3.5. So they did a third edition and they tweaked it a couple of years later. That was at the turn of the millennium, 2002, 2003.
Yeah, around that time.
Lovely game.
Still had its flaws, but overall were far more polished than any of its previous renditions.
Yeah, and quite easy. I mean, D&D, I didn't play much second ed AD&D. I knew it mostly from playing games like Baldur's Gate, which I love, Planescape Torment, which I love even more. We might get onto that and talk about that, because Aaron's eyes just lit up. But they then did D&D 4th edition and revamped the game again, and a lot of people walked away from it, including us.
Yeah.
They made the game feel very much like you were playing some kind of MMO. It went even more, in my mind, even more fantastic in the way the systems worked.
Yes.
So you had, like, your warrior could heal themselves using magic.
Well, that's
kind of odd.
Unless you're playing a solo campaign.
Yeah, it felt very gamey. Like, you had game-like abilities, and it is a game, but it felt very much focused on
the combat.
Now, there's lots of people out there who play D&D in that manner. It's lots of combat. It's almost like a war game or a miniatures game, occasionally, where they do a bit of talking. We tend to, as a group, play much more immersive. We spend more time on developing characters and developing relationships with NPCs and similar than we do necessarily in combat.
Yeah.
And so we kind of turned our noses up at, or turned away from 4th ed, and Pathfinder came out. They bought the old game system. It comes from Paizo Publishing, and they bought the old game system, the old 3.5, out from Wizards of the Coast because they didn't need it anymore because they'd moved on. Fixed a lot of the problems, released Pathfinder in their own world under pretty much the same system but better.
Okay.
So that's the history of it, and at one point Pathfinder was outselling D&D 4.
Yes.
I'm not sure, I've not really looked into how it's comparing against 5th. To be honest.
No, I couldn't tell you.
But Pathfinder, really lovely game. Nice and simple rules. Most things come down to rolling a 20-sided dice down into modifiers that are fairly easy to work out.
Yeah.
How did you find it picking it up fresh, having not played 3rd ed? Because kind of we've been playing essentially that system since about 12 years?
Yeah, about that.
Now, I'm going to get the name of it wrong. So I'd obviously heard stories about the armour classing system of 3.
VACO, 2-hit armour class 0.
Yes, that's it, because they used it in Fallout and things like that, which I knew it from.
Yeah, and very much in Baldur's Gate, which was your armour class started at 10, and then the more armour you had, the lower it got, and then you applied it as a negative. Oh god, I've gone cross-eyed. It was a really mad system.
I went, it's going to be full of stuff like this. I'm rubbish at maths on the spot. I'm going to be spending my entire time huddled over a book writing things down and trying to work out what I'm doing. But it wasn't like that at all. It was really simple. It's roll dice. Okay, I can add that number to it. I've got this number. Well, you failed it, you passed it, depending on this, that, and that.
Yeah.
And it was easy. I made it really simple to get on with combat. I turned it into I played it before in an earlier system where I played with a lower level character. The combat was quick and easy. I remember what I was doing, everything else. When I came into the Rise of the Rune Lords campaign, I had so many abilities I forgot I could do loads of things because I got used to them.
Yeah, you'd started quite late.
We were much higher level.
But it was a clear, simple system. It was one you seemed to have quite a lot of flexibility in it. I mean, I made an alchemist for the campaign that Colin ran using the Pathfinder system, which is kind of like a magic class almost. You can take spells from all the little other classes and brew potions to do them. and I was a bit overwhelmed and scared when I first looked at how many options I had.
It's about 100 pages of spells in the book.
There's so many of them. But when I started looking at, okay, well, my character's like this, so I'm not going to have spells that work like that, because why would I do that? It started becoming a lot simple, and I was able to play with it, and it was quick, easy, and I wasn't scared of it once I started playing it. I picked it up really quickly, which I don't normally.
Now, we obviously played Rise of the Rune Lords, and I mean, the benefits of starting with a pre-generated campaign, something you can just pick up out of a book, are great.
Especially for new groups. So if you're interested in having a look at this, you can easily pick up a starter pack. Normally comes with a small campaign to start with. If you've never ran a game or never played in a game before, it's very quick and very easy.
We didn't really touch on the world that they'd created for Pathfinder. We had our little bit that we went to, Sandpoint, and the nearby City of Monuments, and that mountain that we climbed, the other side of the world that we flew to, because it's still very high fantasy. You can resurrect people using magic, for instance. So it lacks that grit.
There's a consequence to throwing your character into something really.
There is that. I mean, I played an elf archer. Go me for cliches.
Yeah, I hate cliches in fantasy. I'm going to play an elven archer.
Elven archer. So cool. I will point out, in my defence, I hadn't role played with the group in about 3 years, and I hadn't actually played Pathfinder before either. I played all the other the D&D 3, D&D 3.5, and I just didn't know what the hell I was going to play. I didn't know anything about the world, so I just went, I'll play an elven archer. So we didn't delve into the world as much, but then my character wasn't particularly interested in the world and what was going on. I did find later on in the game, as we got higher level, when we got the ability to teleport and fly, you tend to miss quite big chunks. It's like having the fast travel in Skyrim. Yes, you could travel to the other side of the world and do all the quests and run into villages and all sorts of things on the way, or I'll just press this button here and
we all hold hands and say the magic word. Yes. And lo and behold, we are in far forgotten that other city that's up a mountain.
I would say
it's been a while.
I thoroughly enjoy Pathfinder. I would quite happily, if the guys, everyone went, let's play a game of Pathfinder, start a new campaign, I'd quite happily play it again. My enjoyment of the game diminished the higher level we became.
Yes,
because you broke it.
I broke it, and I apologise in advance. But it's not just that. Because everything becomes tougher, your characters become harder, you get more hit points, you cause more damage with your weapons. Enemies become harder, and you would think it would balance, so that combat takes the same amount of time, but it doesn't. It takes longer.
Yeah,
we
definitely.
had one session. Now, we only played for 4 hours because of we're older now, so we have work to.
Yeah, I had to have my cocoa.
Yeah,
and go to bed at a reasonable hour in my pyjamas.
Yeah, I mean, we only played 4 hours, but we started the session in combat, and we ended 4 hours later in the same combat, and had to pick up the combat next week, which is madness. That's insanity.
Very difficult. Yeah.
And that started to drag the campaign down, because it was, well, let's go fight this. And as the campaign escalated, and it was very much, right, end game, let's go slaughter all the bad guys.
We have reached the climax. It's a series of action sequences.
Yes.
That will take weeks to play.
It was the last kind of, I think when we were storming the Rune Lord's base of operations, it was a 3 or 4 weeks we were playing, so about 10-15 hours throughout the weeks, and it was all one combat after the other.
Yes.
It was like watching the Two Towers, but really really slowly.
Yeah.
I don't know if our DM got bored along with us, because he wasn't able to describe much or do much of the story. Exploding metallic objects. That's what happens when you try to...
That's Last Orders. You're ringing the bell. What are you talking about?
No, that was the ogre punching the knight in the head.
One of the above is true. Contact us on Twitter. The first person to get it correct will win a badge. Now Colin has to make that.
Yeah, I don't know if the DM got bored or you, because you seem to know how to game these systems because you're good at that. I should break it so well that we did come across a few creatures that turned up, you drew your bow, fired an arrow, and then it exploded. And we just carried on, all within the space of 10 seconds, real time. And most of that was just Colin counting the dice.
Yeah. The thing with it is you start the game, and I mean my character being a little halfling cleric called Mouse, bless her. She started the game. She had 8 hit points.
Yeah.
Now a longsword. If you stab someone with a longsword, you do D8, so an 8-sided dice of damage. Plus your strength modifier, which means that anyone could walk up to her and with a lucky roll hit her and kill her, knock her out.
Any combat-based warrior class, so specialising in poking things with a longsword,
would hit her and hurt her very quickly.
Would probably bring her down in a hit.
Yeah. Now she ended the game with 165 hit points.
Which still isn't a huge amount.
No, not for the level we were at.
No.
It was okay. It was quite good.
It was more than I had.
Yeah. But even an attack at that level might do 82 points of damage.
Yeah.
Still got hit twice.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to work out those numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it takes a long time to add the things up. The game hits a really nice sort of sweet spot where your character's powerful and has enough of variety and abilities from level 5 or 6 up to about level 12.
Yeah.
Where, for me at least, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, the game, you can have a session, your 4-hour session, you can have a couple fights in there because it is a very combat-based system.
Yeah.
And the general solution, I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons. You fight dragons, you go into dungeons to loot treasure.
Or in this case, you go along paths
Find treasure.
and find some dragons to hit.
Yes, yeah. So you've got that. You know, there will be combat. It's based on that kind of those heroes questing to achieve some kind of goal to get something or to get better loot, so they can do it again and do it better. It has that kind of feel to it, as a sort of the generic staple. But you can have a couple fights in a session at those sorts of levels, and you can chat to someone in the pub. You can make your obeisance to the king. That's not a euphemism.
You can apologise profusely to one of the party players for shooting a crossbow bolt into the backside.
Yeah.
You also feel you're tough enough that you're gonna get through most fights. Well, most fights that the dungeon master's gonna throw at you. But at the same time, if you run up to a bloke in a pub and smack him over the back of the head, there's a good chance you're gonna get killed. You've got that nice sweet spot of I'm tough, but there's a lot of things out there harder than me.
Yeah. Now, for some people, you know, part of the fun of the game is to be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And therefore, maybe they find the later levels, or they prefer a style that's different, where they're much more powerful. The problem I found is that even at those levels, the system, the way it's balanced, it's a very well balanced system of combat. The way that you work out what your party should fight at that level, the kind of treasure they have, it's very mathematical. There's a lot of odds and calculations involved that have kind of gone on behind the scenes, and then they give you a simplified version that you can use. The problem with it is it lends itself very much to power gaming, min-maxing, and if you've got 4 players, you need 1 to hit things, 1 to heal everyone, 1 to do the kind of the tricksy disarming of traps and sneaking around, and 1 person to do the
tanking,
the big the damage dealing with fireballs and things like that. So if you're playing if you're playing in your group and you're playing the elven sorcerer, and your elven sorcerer gets killed, you can play a different sorcerer or a wizard, but if you played something else, and it's full of different character classes, but you completely ruin the balance of the game. And obviously, if you're spending hours and hours playing these characters, you don't want to turn around and say, "Hey, my character died, Colin. Do you want to play someone else so that I can be the fighter for once?" And you get locked into a party role. I was the healer for 2.5 years.
And the thing is,
every Friday night.
The thing is, even if you died, you would have had no choice but to be the party healer. Again, you would have had to pick a new party healer because we didn't have one.
Yeah, and I could have been a slightly worse healer that could do some other stuff and be a druid.
Yeah, but then
we might not survive harder fights.
No, we might not survive the harder fights.
Yeah.
And the game, the way with the powering of the game and the way it works is you want to be really good at what you do. So creating a healer that can do a little bit of healing, but can do a little bit of other stuff that we have seen in some of our games.
You tend not to feel so satisfied.
Yeah, because you're not doing a good job.
No, you're not doing everything as well. Yeah, so I mean, I very much enjoyed Pathfinder.
Yeah.
If you like fantasy, I mean, it kind of, I feel a little bit like Pathfinder and D&D. They straddle that RPG deep role playing where you're your character immersed in character like a method actor for 6 hours of an evening, and playing a war game. They straddle kind of the two, and that's kind of the origin of it, was to tell stories with your miniatures and to fight battles with your miniatures and be heroes. And it's still kind of got that feel, and I enjoy that from time to time.
Yeah.
But I think as we've got older, we've moved more towards the storytelling and playing interesting characters.
Yes. It's still you're very capable of doing it in Pathfinder, but you tend to find if you're using all the spells available, all the classes available, you do hit a level where you just go, it doesn't matter if I run up to, I can take on the entire enemy army. Oh, I've been killed. Oh well, the cleric will resurrect me. You lose that consequences. Yeah. I've just shot the king. Oh, there's a king riding towards you, and well, I've got this incredibly awesome bow. I'm just going to shoot him through the eye. Oh, there you go, war's over. Which
was your archer.
Was my that's essentially what my archer did. And I apologise to James, our game runner, for murdering everything.
I once left the room while Colin was rolling his attacks, made a sandwich in the kitchen, and came back, and this was a complex sandwich. This was a baguette with ham, cheese, pickle, and a layer of... It's like a Scooby snack. Shaggy would have been proud of me. I made that, and then I came back in, and Colin was just adding up his damage.
Yeah.
Because that's how long it took to crunch things.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I really enjoy playing the Baldur's Gate games on the PC. Baldur's Gate 2 is probably one of my top 5 games. I don't have an official list. But, it's one of my favourite games ever, and I have completed it twice, once being nice and once being a complete and utter ruffian, so-and-so, nasty person. But very well spoken, because I was a sorcerer. And all the charisma. Again, not a euphemism. What was good about that was you got to the higher level, you went, I fire my bow at this person, and the game did all the maths for you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's still slower than playing the game in real time because you pause it and you issue orders and you do things like that.
Yeah.
But it's still much quicker than having to get the calculator out to work out exactly what damage you roll because of your undead bane, giant bane, holy bow with its dragon slaying arrow. You were firing, and you were hasted, and you get these stacks and stacks of different things that just gum the works of the game up and get in the way for me.
It's like when you take apart a table with your dice, there's a problem when it needs 3 of us to count those dice up.
Yeah, there was one instance where my attack, so bear in mind, each character's action is 6 seconds. And I think I rolled 52 dice and had to get 3 people to join in rolling these 52 dice.
When the rest of the table is helping you count your dice up, not because they're eager to see if you killed something, but just because the game is going so slow, you might need to really look at your core mechanics a little bit. We have hacked Pathfinder for other settings. We've used our own sort of homebrew settings. But one thing we have done more recently is we've actually used the World of Darkness rule system.
Yes.
For fantasy. Colin and I played a 24-hour role-playing game for charity recently that a friend of ours ran.
We did.
And we used that, and it had a much grittier feel.
Yes, it's World of Darkness is very similar to Mutant that we talked about last week.
Aaron mentioned last week actually that it was
seemed
similar.
Like that. So I've not played World of Darkness system.
No, it's very similar.
No.
Did you not play when Colin had the character with the crazy arm that was possessed?
No.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
'Cause
He kept stroking you. This is going to sound really odd.
we only played for a couple of weeks, though.
Oh, it might have just gone over my head. Yeah.
Because I played the possessed demonkin.
Oh yes.
And my arm
I do remember
moved
the system
independently, and we weren't supposed to look backwards. Again, sorry about this, the listeners. You won't have a clue what I'm on about. But
Yes.
my arm moved independently to the rest of me, so I kept doing weird things with my arm.
Yeah, you got a habit of that.
Yeah.
My first introduction to role playing was with Colin being weird at me in that respect.
Now, in that system, I mean, D&D is very much level based. It's class based. If you want to get better at fighting, you take a level of fighter.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at being stealthy and tricksy, you take a level of rogue. A system like World of Darkness is points based. So you're much freer to make pretty much anything you like.
Yes.
You can often things like I don't know, firing a bow is tied into your agility.
Yeah.
For instance, in Pathfinder, you're never going to be good at firing a bow if you have really bad agility compared to someone who maxed that out.
Yeah.
Well, dexterity, as they call it. In World of Darkness, you can assign all your points to actually being really good at the bow.
Yeah.
Rather than being...
And be someone who's really slow and clumsy, but wields a massive, great big longbow.
And
like a god.
Yeah.
If you so desire. Much grittier, because your hit points won't increase much.
No,
So
very, very rarely increase much.
if 2 sword cuts is enough to kill you when you start the game, maybe 3 sword cuts is what will take you when you're really, really powerful later on.
Yeah.
And there's our friend who has run some of those games as well, has modified using various different source books a kind of magic system that's much less high fantasy and more low fantasy, ritual based or herbalist based, or has drawbacks with it. There's no drawback for the wizard firing loads of spells other than that he runs out of spells, whereas a wizard in World of Darkness is quite easy to give drawbacks and things into the system, where actually costing, say, your own humanity.
Yeah.
It's damaging your own morality and your sanity to do that, which is very much nicer.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's also there's no resurrection spells.
Well, you could make one, but
You could make one if you wanted to for the game, but it's not something that's available, or it's not something will be available later on in the game.
Yeah.
You don't
just go down the local shop and buy.
Yeah, you don't look at your cleric class and go, oh well, at level 10 I get resurrection. It doesn't.
can I tell a really bizarre story?
Yeah, why not?
I ran a game of Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 10 years ago. In that game, the players were defending a besieged city, and in the final battle to save the besieged city, as kind of an all or nothing gambit, they won. One of the player characters died.
Mm-hmm.
We had a 20-minute funeral for that character in the game. The players stood up as their characters and wished that character their goodbyes before burying him in his armour with his weapons. Very moving, very tearful, and the only thing the character had to say, the player of the dead character had to say when they said that they buried him and they moved on, was, "Why didn't you just resurrect me? Now I've got to make a new character." that lovely feeling, that immersive moment was completely destroyed by, oh, you just didn't need to do that.
Yeah, you could just resurrect.
I think that sums up my problem with those sorts of spells. You could take that out of.
I mean, we played many years ago a D&D 3.5 where we took out the resurrection spells. I think it was hinted that they possibly existed, but they were forbidden. It was the kind of thing, if you cast that that, then angels from heaven would come down and rip you limb from limb because you've broken the natural order.
So you could use it like once, and there'd be a massive consequence to it. If
yeah.
somebody was getting really upset that
we
died.
We didn't even. There was hints that they possibly existed, those type of spells, but no one knew that spell.
But obviously, following the way the rules as written, if you like, or the traditional settings, those things just exist.
Yes, they just exist.
And for me, I think this goes down to that high fantasy versus low fantasy. I prefer a lower fantasy. I think the stakes are better. It's more more immersive for me.
Especially if you've built your character, you're enjoying playing your character, your personality. It's going into a fight and that feeling of, oh god, I might die, and that's it. It's not, don't worry, the cleric will resurrect me, or he'll pour a healing potion down my throat. We've got 2 healing potions, and that's it, because they're not widely available, and there is no resurrection. I don't want to go into this fight.
I can completely understand why you would have, if you're playing a game that revolves around combat, you would have healing potions.
Yes.
It would be no fun if you were to load up Bloodborne. You were to run towards the enemies, you get hit by a peasant with a pitchfork, and then your character had to spend 3 weeks convalescing from the wounds.
Yes.
And it's the same thing in a game that revolves around fighting. You don't want to get hurt and then have to sit out the gaming session.
Yes.
So it's a convenient, it's a gamey way of keeping everyone involved.
Yeah.
And having like that bigger hit point pool and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think for us and the way we play as a group, we prefer the consequences to actions, like we were talking about with Mutant last week. We prefer things to sort of to have that kind of follow through.
Yes,
if you like.
Every situation doesn't have to be a fight. In Pathfinder, D&D, you expect it to be a fight and for violence to occur, whereas in World of Darkness, Mutant and other games similar, there's always a way around it.
World of Darkness is brilliant because you can modify it, hack it, very basic, simple. It's not a simple, there's depth to it. But it's quite easy to get your head round. And you can modify it to anything you like. I've played a cyberpunk game using the World of Darkness system. I've played medieval style fantasy using that system. I've played all sorts of different things and been perfectly satisfied with my experience. But I think for role playing, it's just the story wins.
Yes, it's far more.
It helps the story
driven. Now, in our 24-hour game, I created a knight who was very cheery. He was quite
remembering him. He was fun.
Quite looking forward to dying. Not because he wanted to die, but because it's about time someone threw a decent challenge at him. And
you're a cleric of the God of War?
Yes, I was a cleric of the God of War, and thoroughly enjoyed fighting in all its forms. A fair fight is what I wanted.
It was when my character came up with a cunning plan to, without going into too much detail and boring anyone, the area that we lived in had been overtaken by enemy invaders. I came out with a cunning plan to try and assassinate their leadership and regain control of the area. Explained it to your character, and he turned around and said, "Well, it'll be an honour dying by your side." Which was brilliant, but also left me more crestfallen than that guy who sits by the bonfire in Dark Souls.
And just for the end of that story, we didn't assassinate the leader because I immediately ran out into the open, challenging the leader to mortal combat. And screaming, "Come out and face us." So I completely ruined that. But what I found with that is, I tailored that character for fighting because it was a 24-hour game. I knew that at around the 3-4 o'clock mark we were all going to get extremely tired and just want to hit things. So I tailored a hitting character. Despite that, I still felt vulnerable. I didn't feel anywhere near as a powerful character as, say, in Pathfinder. I actually got brought down a couple of times. And suffered the consequences for my running in and going, "Face me, monster," and it went badly more than once. So,
which is nice.
I mean, it was fun to play a hitty punch the thing in the head, but it was my character's personality that I enjoyed the most out of that.
I don't remember that time when you rolled lots of high dice.
Yes.
I remember that time when you turned around and said something perfectly in character to something I'd done. It was the interaction between the characters that lives in the memory for me from role-playing games.
Yeah.
If anyone's telling you a role-play story and they say, and then I rolled a 20 and so it was dead, you're very dull.
I mean, in that game,
to me.
Yeah, I mean, in that game, I rolled a lot of dice in comparison to the other party members, but it's not something that comes up. I mean, when we talk about my elf character from Pathfinder, it's, oh my god, how many bloody dice did you have to roll? And do you remember that time you murdered this thing? In World of Darkness, it's, do you remember that time you said this to that character? Yes. It's more of the roleplay side than rolling dice.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
The only thing I really did of note in that is I spent a lot of my resources on my social standing, which immediately fell apart because we got invaded.
Yeah.
That was great. So I was the daughter of the nobleman of the area, and had no power because we'd been invaded. So that was great. So I spent points on that. I spent points on money.
Yeah.
So I spent some of my sort of experience and my character building points on money. And again, we were immediately in a war situation where money kind of lost its value.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of my points on having a really awesome... she was my... handmaid, I suppose, my servant girl, but she was also kind of my spy, my best friend, and she was going to be a very useful character because there were only 3 of us playing, so we thought we'd have another character good at stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd spend the points for her. She'd be very useful, and she'd be really cool to sort of be involved in, roleplay with, talk to her as an NPC. And then the enemy came, so I immediately sent her away to safety. So we saw her in the first hour of the game, and that was it.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly funny to me. Realising about 22 hours into the game, I was like, should have been really useful right now.
Yeah.
So that's fantasy role play done.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, Colin?
Yes, the last thing about that, although that sounds like Brian's character was completely useless and he might as well have sat in a corner twiddling his thumbs. I don't remember any of that. I remember his character being a lot of fun and bouncing off it, and all that leadership abilities and the nobleman's daughter came into play.
Oh yeah, I basically tried to be the nobleman's daughter. I just didn't get any benefits from it, but I still acted in that way.
Still acted,
I
and
didn't need an extra dice
that's something
to do it.
World of Warcraft is built for. It's what
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft. Sorry, everybody. World of Darkness is built for.
Well-known deep immersion role-playing game. World of Warcraft.
It rewards you for having a character concept rather than having a character class.
Yeah. Aaron, you've not said a lot for a long time because you weren't really involved in a lot of those things.
You didn't join in the charity event. Boo, hiss.
Yeah.
In fact, he was on holiday. Doesn't mean anything. Boo, hiss.
I made sure some money came the right way.
Ignore that last statement from him. Boo, hiss.
Yeah, people hiss. They should like a cat. I think that'd be more intimidating.
Well, that's
if you really didn't like something.
That's the snake people from Varlin that are hissing.
The
right?
snake people.
Don't be racist.
Sorry, they're not in the tavern with us at the minute. We're fine.
That's true.
That's because of my racism. I've upset them.
They're waiting outside to ambush us.
Bless them. So, yeah, we recommend fantasy role-playing games. Lots of things, lots of cool ideas to play around with.
Yep.
Pathfinder, good for a bit. Don't get too high a level because your game will gum up.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for that grittier kind of role
Experience.
feel, have a look around. There's lots of other good systems, but we do recommend
World of
Darkness.
Yeah.
I'd say if you're new players, definitely go for Pathfinder because it'll introduce you to role playing as a concept.
Yeah.
And you should definitely do role playing. If you've got a gaming group and you can meet up semi-regularly, give it a go.
It's an amazing amount of fun. Definitely give Pathfinder a go. If you then, as you're playing, think, well, I'd actually more interested in seeing how our characters interact. Once you warm up and get used to playing other characters, because we're not all completely mental like we are, then move on to systems like World of Darkness.
Yeah. one thing I thought you might be able to introduce for us, board gaming then, fantasy board games.
Fantasy board games.
Fire, go. What's been tickling your fancy?
Well, I mean...
Your fantasy.
Oh, fantasy, right. Well, one that ties in quite nicely with what we talk about as we talk about Dungeons & Dragons type of things is Lords of Waterdeep. With the lovely, lovely, sexy box of sexiness.
Oh, I enjoyed the box. So I've never enjoyed packaging as much as when I opened up Lords of Waterdeep.
It is almost pornographic.
It's brilliant. It's such a sleek design. I remember board games, you would have 2 bits of cardboard and they would rattle, they'd sit on the shelf. If you had them at a funny angle, then everything would start to fall out. You'd open it up and you'd have to spend 10 minutes putting all the decks of cards back together, or
and you would have
finding
lost
the little dog.
some cards and pieces, because even though the box is shut and the lid's on, it's still gone missing. It's rattled enough that it's actually dropped out of space and time.
Yeah, those little Monopoly dogs, they actually can move on their own.
Yeah.
But the inside of the Waterdeep box, everything has its place and it fits absolutely perfectly and snugly, and you can just open it up and go, this bit goes here, this bit goes there, that bit goes there, and you're set up in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I've just realised how sad we sound.
No, years and years of suffering going, oh, well, I really want to play that board game, but it's going to take me half an hour to set it up because I'm going to have to find all the
pieces,
the cards to separate them.
Oh, I fully understand why we think this is amazing, but from an outside point of view, let's face it,
It does.
we've just got excited by a box.
Yeah, the instant you've played a board game and tried to take it around somebody's house and just had
Lost all the bits.
explode everywhere.
Yeah. It feels like a game that's been made for by people that play games.
Yes.
It's not people that are trying to sell you something. It's like, we've made a really cool game and we've made it really easy for you to play. Might be part of their cunning, cynical marketing plan, but please do more of it because it's so lovely just to be able to get going so quickly. Yeah. What's Lords of Waterdeep then?
So it's a competitive board game where you play the Lords of Waterdeep.
Do you?
Yeah.
The Lords of Water. I never would have guessed.
And it's your task to gather parties as such, but build your own parties and send them out on quests.
Parties as in parties of adventurers, not clowns, cake and balloons.
Well, it depends on the quest.
Possibly, yeah.
Each of you plays a different lord, as this is going to keep coming back to this, I'm sorry. But you keep that in secret for the game.
Yeah, so, I mean, that fits in, sorry to interrupt, fits in nicely. Waterdeep is a city in Forgotten Realms, which is one of the staple Dungeons & Dragons kind of settings. I think 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons has actually gone back to having that as the kind of the default setting.
Okay.
Although they kind of used Greyhawk in previous years and didn't really expand on it. You might know Forgotten Realms, Drizzt Do'Urden, the Colin's looking very confused. The Drow Ranger, so the evil elf ranger. Let me have a
That's
thing.
racist.
Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is a city in Forgotten Realms. And those games take place. Icewind Dale is a location in Forgotten Realms. Neverwinter. So
I'm just upset that you just naturally presume that the Drow are going to be evil.
Yeah.
Well, Drizzt isn't evil, and that's what makes him interesting.
But you said the Drow are.
Well, as a society, they're... This again, right? We will come back to this idea of alignment. I've actually got a question about alignment.
I'm trapping him, viewers. I'm getting his racist views out. It's going to happen. Tell us what you really think about the elves, Brian.
I wish I was an elf.
So do
One of the pixies is stroking my back. That's very pleasant. Feathery. Yes. So, sorry. The Waterdeep is a city, a very, very large city, and it is ruled by 13 lords, I do believe. One of whom is public, and everyone knows. The others are masked. Nobody knows who they are, although there's lots of discussion about who they might be.
Yeah.
They meet as a council, they decide the fate of the city, but they've all got very different ideas on what should be done. So you act as one of these masked figures, hence why no one knows which one you are. And rather than when you play Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, you are gathered as adventurers. Generally, someone goes, "Hark, we need to go over there and deal with this evil menace," and you go, 100 gold, and your finest flaming longsword, please. And they send you off, and you do it. In this game, you actually act as the people sending the adventurers, and you have agents that go round the board. You set them out, they go and recruit people, or they take missions, and then when you've got enough adventurers and enough gold and equipment or whatever it is you need, they vary, you can complete the mission, get some lovely victory points. Just like in real life when you complete any kind of task. We've all seen that little number come up in the top corner of our vision and just go up.
I'm not doing very well. I've only leveled up once.
Oh, bless you. I levelled up on Wednesday.
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
What did I do? A very large succession of very menial fetch quests, also known as going to work.
Is it the is it the World of Warcraft syndrome of going into the forest and killing boars for 20 minutes? Only gets you 1 XP, but eventually you will level up.
Eventually it works, yes. Eventually you get better at things. Now, I love Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
Is that unanimous across the board?
I've played it twice, and honestly, I'm struggling to remember much about it.
Oh no, that's bad.
Either says to me that I didn't enjoy it very much, and so I've just kind of deleted it from my mind.
Yeah.
Or because you guys had played it quite a bit before I joined in, perhaps I was... You guys knew what you were doing, you knew how to win the game and complete the game, and I was sitting there going, what?
Yeah, what? Sorry about that noise, I was just opening a can of mead.
We played it, I think, around our friend who... She has some kind of mathematical genius ability to just churn out this quick succession of... I do this gets me more of this, which lets me do this, which gets me more of this, which lets me do this, and just get a system going. She made like a factory of fighters.
Yeah, one of the things that she did, I mean, there's different types of quests. So you might have magic-based quests, religious-based quests, might quests for fighters to go on, or skullduggery. If you're feeling particularly skullduggerous, you might take lots of those and use rogues to do those. Each lord has 2 favoured types of quest. So you might have the holy warrior who likes might quests and religious quests. You might have the greedy thief who has the commerce quests, all about getting money, and the skullduggery quests. She managed to basically create... She was the holy warrior, and she created a system where every time her fighters went and completed a mission for her, they returned back to her base as priests. For they had been, they'd proven their worth and been ordained as priests in the name of the god. Lovely, because then they were then used on the next quest, and she just absolutely destroyed us all. We just watched on, fairly helpless, but I did enjoy the game. As she absolutely beat the snot out of us on the very first time she'd ever played. Not being a hardcore gamer as such. We've played lots of more casual games with it. It's probably the most, I suppose, involved game we've played with her, and she taught us all of us cynical old gamers quite a few valuable lessons. So well done.
That was
Hi.
But that was one of your first introductions to that. Was
that was my first introduction. It was what's happening. I think it was the first time she'd played it as well. And obviously she walked all over us. Now either that means I'm slow, which is no excuse because she's even older than me, so I can't even say, oh, it's okay, I've just got slow in my old age. So whether that was down to a little bit of luck on her part, or whether I am just an idiot and went, what, how do I work this? But it's definitely a game where if you're going to play it with people, I'd recommend playing it with... If you play it for the first time, play it with a group of people who are also playing it the first time, because once you've figured out the little
There's
ways
depth
of
and strategy to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, once
Yeah.
you've figured out a variety of strategies and ways of very quickly accruing points, and then you bring in a new player, you're just going to sit there and go, I do this,
Yeah.
I've won.
Because the quests you get in are drawn at random.
Yeah.
The lords obviously get given to you at random.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
And-
can't go, I really like this lord, I'm going to be
No,
this
I mean,
guy.
there is a...
Some of them are ladies.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ladies of Waterdeep.
Ladies of Waterdeep.
Ladies of Waterdeep sounds a bit like a shopping game, though.
Ladies of Waterdeep. Yeah, it does.
It's a bit like ladies who do lunch.
Ladies
But
who
yeah,
do lunch.
I quite
Yeah.
enjoy playing the various ladies of
Yeah.
Waterdeep.
Yeah. But as well as all these systems, you can build buildings, which
Yeah,
is how you generate some of your fighters and your mages and your things like that. Others gather you more money and things like that. Depending on, you can only have like a certain number of agents per building and section of the city. Some
Yeah.
couples, most money allow one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it might be that I realised that Aaron needs lots and lots of thieves, and he's being particularly skullduggerous again.
Yes.
And yes, you can go to the Thieves Guild and recruit a couple thieves. Once someone's done that in a turn, and you each have a set limited number of actions, take turns putting your agents down.
Yeah.
Once an enemy agent's visited somewhere, that's it for that go. There's only 6 or 8 turns, so it's a very short
Yes.
game
Yeah.
in that sense. It's about an hour to play.
Yeah.
But I can go, oh, I could make some money off of this. I will buy this particular dodgy pub that lets him also recruit other thieves.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
a
I
cost of 4 gold to you.
Yeah, and I get some of his gold, or I get another thief come and join me as well
Yeah.
if he uses it. And then you're forced into that decision.
Yes.
Who do I help? I really need my resources. And one of the great things the game does is it gives you more of these agents about halfway through.
Yeah.
So there's not actually enough spaces at the beginning of the game for everyone to use all of their agents, but halfway through it releases some extra ones to you because people have built up and you get extra moves.
Which
and
is
things are
nice.
complex and you've developed
Yeah.
your systems. Very, very nice. You can also play intrigue cards, so you can go to the docks and play some intrigue.
Yeah.
So you might mess with particular players. There might be a fight breakout, so in your tavern and you steal some fighters because they come over to have a fight and then they stay where you are,
Yeah.
have a drink. Lots and lots of nice little touches. You say it's competitive.
Yeah.
It's
But
kind of a Eurogamey competitive.
yes.
In
You've got to work together to a certain extent to be able to achieve the goals
Yeah.
you want, and you're just hoping the other person isn't using you as much as you're using
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
and you can there's a very few ways of interacting directly.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from you can have as much conflict or not in your group, because you could go, oh well, I need some of those, oh but I need some of that, okay, I'll go here, and you could cooperate.
Yeah.
Or you could go, you need to because you can see the other person's missions,
Yes.
adventures, quests. You could go, oh, you need two thieves to complete that quest. I've just gone to the Hall of Thieves and recruited the last 2 thieves, Colin. Ha 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 ha.
Which I'd like to point out is what happened. Not from Brian, but someone did that to me in my first game, and I went, I can't actually complete most of my missions. What am I doing?
So you can be competitive in that way, but
Yeah.
you're not directly attacking each other. Everyone plays the game through to the end. You can't murder the Lord or anything like that,
no.
which again is quite nice if you're introducing the game to newer people to board games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there tends to be that thing of, oh, you've been knocked out in the first round because you knew. Sit there for 10 minutes while we finish off.
It was nice
That's rubbish.
to carry
Yeah.
on playing it, despite the fact that I got screwed heavily over. I did enjoy the game, and it was fun to, when I started getting the hang of it, going, oh, I could screw with these guys. I can't win. I know I couldn't win because
Yeah.
I've been screwed over, but I can stop other people.
And then
Yes,
when you play again,
Yes,
You'll
I
be
very
able to
much
use those tricks,
I'd
so-
like to play again at some point, because
Yeah.
it's something I don't remember much of it, but I think it's like any game when you first play it. You need to play it again once you've learned the rules. To,
Yeah,
to get
definitely.
into it.
one of the things I really like about it as well is that although someone might be ahead, you can see the victory points. There are points that are given when the game finishes. You reveal your lord, you get your bonus points.
Yes, they
For
can push
what
you
you've
forward.
completed. You also get points for what you've picked up So if you have stolen all the thieves and not managed to send them on a mission, you'll still get some points at the end for having lots of thieves.
Yeah.
So it could be people leapfrog and jump around towards the end of the game. They leapfrog and jump around towards the end of the game.
Yeah. So you can
think you're winning and then lose at the last minute. You can think you're losing and then jump ahead because you've really, really focused on a particular type of quest.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I like that. So it does keep everyone involved right up into the end. And again, that's very Eurogamery.
It is, as Colin was saying.
And I like Eurogames.
Yeah, Eurogames are nice because the systems have been thought out so well.
Sometimes you just want to be really horrible to your friends and punch them in the face, not literally. Well, you might do, but metaphorically.
It gives you that kind of... It was like Colin saying, it's like you might think, okay, I can't win this. In a game of Monopoly, say, at that point you go, okay, fair enough, I quit. I want to step out of it.
No, you don't. You flip the board up, you have a massive family argument and you ruin Christmas.
Yes.
That's how you play Monopoly.
And then it's permanently banned in your household.
Have you had Monopoly banned in your household?
Yes.
Have you had Monopoly banned in your household?
No, but I don't think we really played it at mine.
That's wise.
We just never really played it because my dad was really, really mean.
Yeah.
I have members.
Yeah, competitive dad. You have members, do you?
Yes.
You have members in your family.
Members
Good
in my
Lord.
family, yes. That's why I live out in the country. I have members. No,
They're recruited.
Like... That's why these trolls are standing right next to me. They're new members of my family. It's kind of said, like, you can feel like you're not winning and then go, but I can mess with this person and beat them instead. So you still feel like you're getting somewhere, even if it's not the top.
Yeah. I'm not going to win, but by God, I'm not going to lose.
Yeah, and that keeps you involved. There's not many games that let you feel that way. It's like either you win or nothing else. Whereas it does make you feel like, well, I might be ahead of them, but I might just be messing with this person, and that's really funny, so I'm going to carry on.
Yeah. So, do we like Lords of Waterdeep? You play again, Colin?
Yeah, as I said earlier, I don't remember a huge amount about playing it. The first game, our gaming companion just walked all over us, swept the rug with us, so to speak. I would... No, that makes no sense. It's medieval times. We sweep rugs with people
Swept
now.
the floor with you, or pulled the rug out from under you?
I think I combined both of those. Yes.
Mixing your metaphors.
Well, yes, but it's a fantasy era, so I can mix metaphors and they'll become the norm.
Yes.
Yeah, true story. But yes, I would play again.
Yeah,
You'd play again?
I definitely recommend it. Even if you play it once and don't enjoy it because somebody uses you to mop up the carpet afterwards.
See, I told you it'd catch on.
Then just buy the lovely box.
Enjoy the box.
Enjoy the box. But you will like the game again.
Look at how tidy everything is. Look at how neatly it packs away. Stroke its cardboard surfaces.
And now we're getting into the realms of weird.
I was really enjoying myself.
I noticed.
Are we massively over time?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
excellent.
We've rambled.
So that's a whistle-stop tour through fantasy. That sound you hear is the centaur ringing for time, which means that we've got to drink up and get gone. Interestingly, he's a reverse centaur, so he's got a human body and a horse's head.
It does mean he's head-butting the bell. It does seem painful. I feel guilty enough to leave my own back garden.
Yeah, but if you give him sugar cubes, then you get free drinks.
Entirely true.
So we're going to knock back our pints of mead, whatever mead is. I'm still not 100% sure what it actually is. And the wizard's put his staff away.
He stroked it
Finally.
so much he's practically gone blind.
He did shoot some sparks out the end at one point. And in true adventuring tradition, the rest of us are off to domesticate some owlbears.
Yes.
Not a euphemism. So I have been Brian Ennis.
I've been Aaron Ravinsky.
And I've been Colin of House Howard. I've gone up in the world. I'm no longer a peasant.
And thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.